y'all. I'm Dr. Perez. Welcome to a special edition of The Breakdown. Today, we're going to talk about anxiety because there's a whole lot of that going around right now. Because of COVID-19, we spent 3 months quarantined in our homes. And guess what? Outside is officially open. So we are returning to a very different world. We're wearing masks and gloves and basically bathing in hand sanitizer. We have endless supplies of wipes and toilet tissue and bleach. The way that we are interacting with each other has also drastically changed. We're not hugging and kissing on the cheek or even giving handshakes. We've had to separate ourselves from those we hold dear just to keep everybody safe and healthy. Because of COVID-19, we've had to cancel a lot of important events. Graduations, weddings, and even summer vacations. This is not a local issue. This is not a national issue. The whole doggone world is dealing with this issue. So, like I said, this is a different world. I want to talk to you about what anxiety looks like and how you can decrease yours as we prepare to adjust to this new normal. Anxiety can wreak havoc on our bodies. It causes headaches, digestive issues, skin issues, even shortness of breath. Now, you start to have those physical symptoms of anxiety, and what's the first thing that comes to mind? Oh Lord, is that you, Rona? That's not uncommon. We're all doing it because that's an automatic response. That's a response that we have because we are human beings. When that bat signal goes off and says, you are experiencing shortness of breath, you're not thinking you're anxious. You automatically start pacing, regretting decisions you made in college, and calling on Jesus. Why are our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors so intertwined? Well, imagine this. You walk into a room and everyone starts laughing. What's one thought you might have? Oh, well, they're laughing at me. If that's your thought, how do you feel? You'll likely feel embarrassed. And if that's how you feel, what will you do? You'll retreat and slowly back out of the room, hoping that no one notices you. Yes, that thought triggers that feeling, which triggers that behavior. Let's imagine changing that thought. What if our thought, when we walked into the room of laughing people, was someone must have told a joke right before I came in? If that's your thought, how are you feeling? Well, you're feeling like your fabulous self. What do you do when you're feeling like your fabulous self? Whatever you want. So just changing that thought changes the way that we feel, which changes our behavior. Okay? Those things are intertwined. As we try to adjust to outside being open, I have a few tips that I'd like to share with you. One, let's plan. If you know you're going to leave your home, be prepared. Have your gloves, have your mask, have your hand sanitizer. I even suggest leaving some of these items in your car so you'll never get stuck, just in case you forget or in case your supplies are torn or soiled. Know where you're going, know when you're going, and know what you're going for. Some people decide to go to stores early in the mornings because that makes them feel more comfortable because there are fewer people. Some people decide to go to smaller stores as opposed to our larger super centers. When you go out, know what you're looking for. This is not the time for window shopping. We're still in the midst of a pandemic, remember? So if you plan and you prepare before you leave your home, that's going to decrease some anxiety. Few more things. Let's limit the caffeine. There's caffeine in not just coffee and sodas, but also in sweet tea. Caffeine makes us anxious, so all it's doing is just making matters worse. So let's avoid, or at least limit, our caffeine intake. While we're avoiding or decreasing intake, let's limit the alcohol consumption as well. Since we've been at home for 3 months, some of us have enjoyed an adult beverage or 2, or 3, or possibly 4. Be honest. Alcohol does not make the situation better. It creates a false sense of everything being okay, a false sense of being calm, and it's truly that. It's a false sense. When we are intoxicated, we make very poor decisions. You don't want to make poor decisions, right? Yeah, I thought so. There's some other things that we can do to help us make better decisions, like exercising daily, eating the right foods, and going to sleep. Did you know that driving while you are tired, exhausted, fatigued, it can have the same effects as driving while drunk? Yes. Sleep is essential. So you have to make sure that you're getting it. And try to get it, if you can, around the same time every evening. Before going to bed, consider starting a gratitude journal. 3 simple things. Just identify 3 simple things that you're grateful for that have occurred that day. They don't have to be big things. They can be smaller things, the things that we typically take for granted and may not even notice. We can be grateful for getting home just in time for our favorite show, or finding a chocolate bar in our purse. Just me? Oh. Well, anyway, find 3 small things that you are grateful for, because that completely changes your outlook, and this is how you're going to end your day. If you like journaling, feel free to do that as well. It's a great way to express your feelings, and actually it helps to identify patterns so that you can determine what your emotions have been throughout that day and what those triggers may have been. Sometimes those triggers come from watching television. Most of us, if not all of us, watching the news all day long. We don't need that. While you're eating breakfast, you're looking at the number of cases and the number of deaths. While you're eating lunch, you're looking at the updated numbers. And while you're eating dinner or before bed, you're looking at all that stuff again. How can you avoid being anxious when you've got all of this information coming at you that is anxiety provoking? I'm not saying don't listen. You do want to know what's going on in the world, but try to pick a time during the day, preferably not before bedtime, when you can sit down, take in the information, process it, and go about your day without feeling overwhelmed. When you get information, please let it be information from the CDC or your local public health organizations. You may not believe this. everything you read on social media is not true. I know, right? Yeah. This is one of my favorites. Breathing. Taking a deep breath. When we're anxious, we tend to hold that breath, which once again makes things worse. You're not getting any oxygen to the brain, which means you're not making the best decisions, which means it just ain't gonna turn out right. Okay? With breathing, you breathe in a controlled manner. You're breathing in slowly through the nose, out slowly through the mouth. Once again, in slowly through the nose, out slowly through the mouth. Come on, do it with me. In slowly through the nose, out slowly through the mouth. That feels better already, right? You may only need to do that 2 or 3 times, or you may have to do it 27. Whatever works for you. It's something you can do any place, and you don't need any supplies or fancy equipment to do it. I happen to love The Wiz, and there are 2 characters on The Wiz that I can relate to or like to think of when I'm feeling anxious. We've got the Tin Man and the Scarecrow. So if you think about the Tin Man is firm, he's stiff, he's not moving, he's tightening, everything is tight, okay? When you think about the Scarecrow, he's limp and floppy. So, imitate those characters. For Tin Man, tighten your body as much as you can, including your jaw, arms, shoulders, legs, feet. Tighten everything and hold it for 5 seconds. Then, Scarecrow, you let it loose. Be floppy, let your head wag for 5 seconds, and then Tin Man again. And Scarecrow. That too is something that you can use at any time. And I happen to think it's a little less anxiety. I feel less anxiety if I'm thinking about The Wiz than if I'm thinking about Corona. Standing up straight or sitting up straight. We've been told for years having proper posture is essential. Well, they weren't lying. When we're feeling anxious, we have a tendency to kind of hunch over. That closes the chest, which makes it harder for us to breathe. And who feels confident looking like this? So if you're sitting down, put your feet apart, pull your shoulders back, lift your head. Now you can easily breathe, and your confidence immediately shoots up because you are in control, or at least you feel as though you're more in control. Speaking of control, some people like to go for a drive. You get to determine where you're going, how fast you're going, and what plays on the radio. So going for a drive can sometimes make you feel as though you're in some kind of control over at least a little bit of something. Some folks like to chew gum. Chomping on gum may be something that also helps you with decreasing anxiety. Even though White Gloves and Party Manners says that you should never chew gum in public. But I'm going to let you do that. I'm going to give you a pass, okay? Because we're all dealing with a lot right now. There are a few other things that you can do to help yourself physically. If you are finding that you are having a hard time breathing, you're anxious and you just can't get it all together, sit down and try putting your head below your heart. Put your head between your knees and let it stay there for a moment. Once you feel you're ready, you can go back to that controlled posture. There's some tips we can take from kids. 1, ABCs. If you're stressed, recite the alphabet backward. That takes some focus and concentration. So you're concentrating on that and not on whatever's freaking you out at the moment. We can also count to 10. Just like kiddos do. Let's do a countdown. Imagine that you are putting all of your anxiety into a rocket ship and you're counting down 10, 9, 8. And when you get to 1, that rocket ship is going to go into outer space and take all of your anxiety with it. Like I said, it may sound a little childish, but it works. Another tip we can take from kids, time out. When you're feeling overwhelmed, remove yourself. Try to find a quiet place to do whatever it is that calms you. That may be listening to music, that may be meditating, that may be just practicing mindfulness. Take that time to remove yourself. Give yourself a time out to just allow yourself to regroup. While you're grounding yourself, try the 3-3-3 rule. You identify 3 things that you see, 3 things that you hear, and 3 body parts that you can move. Could be your feet, or your fingers, or your toes. So after you identify those 3 things that you see, 3 things that you hear, and move 3 different parts of your body, that helps you to be in the moment. That helps you to be mindful, and it helps us to relax. You can also try visualization, visualizing your happy place. If you need more help with that, make sure you subscribe, because I'll go into detail in another video telling you exactly how to create your perfect happy place. Few more things that I'd like to share with you that I think will be helpful. Getting rid of clutter. We tend to collect a lot of things that we don't need, and those things just take up space. A cluttered home, it leads to a cluttered mind. I'm not just making that up. That's very true. So try to have a place for everything that you need and get rid of that junk that you don't. It's just taking up space and making things uncomfortable for you. You will feel so much calmer, so much more relaxed if you can walk into a room that's organized. When you're organizing, you're probably going to come across a bank statement or 2. Take a close look at that. I have noticed that I have been paying for things that I don't use. I have tons of magazine subscriptions, but do I read them? Unfortunately, no. So that's something that I can cut out of my budget. That gives me a little bit more cash to do whatever it is I want to do. Buy more chocolate candy bars. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, you get the picture. I'm not saying you're not going to worry. You're going to worry, okay? But let's pick a time. So if you are going to worry, decide that morning when you wake up, I'm going to worry from 10:45 a.m. until 11:45 a.m. That's my worry time. So if you want to worry about something, do it within that time frame. But when it's over, that's it. You don't have that worrying time until your time you set for the next day. I think that's pretty good. When we're worrying, we want to try to separate the difference between what's something we can control and what's something we have no control over. Okay? We have control over our bodies. What we do with it, what we take in, we have control over those things. We don't have control over people who refuse to wear masks. Don't stress yourself out with the stuff that you can't control, because You can't control it. Focus on the things that you can resolve. Make a plan and stick to it. While you're making that plan, make sure that you're saying positive things to yourself and not that negative self-talk. We tend to be kind of mean to ourselves at times, telling ourselves you can't do it, it's too hard, it's never going to work. Well, if that's what you put out in the universe, that's what you're going to get back. Let's try. It may be hard, but you know what? I can handle it. I've handled things like this before. Give yourself a little pep talk if need be. If you need to put 100 stickies all over your bathroom mirror with positive sayings, then do that too. Whatever works for you. I want you to think about your to-do list. There are probably some things on there that don't necessarily bring you joy. There are things you're likely doing day to day for some other reason other than pleasing yourself. If there are things that are just taking up space, things that you're not finding fulfillment doing, take them off. As long as everyone is clothed and housed and fed, you're good. All the extra stuff is just that. Extra stuff. So get rid of the things that are just taking up space. Let's make sure that everything smells nice. I don't mean the cleaning up part, although that can contribute to a certain kind of aroma in your home. We don't want that kind of aroma. So take your trash out after you've had crawfish the same day and put it outside. I'm talking aromatherapy, candles, essential oils. We have so many different oils that trigger a lot of different emotions. One of those is lavender. Lavender tends to be calming. You have a little linen lavender spray. You just spray that right on your pillowcase and sweet dreams. You can also use other natural things like acupressure. Here's one for anxiety. Take your hand, 3 fingers, and place them right below your wrist, right under your hand right there. Now, this point underneath is your pressure point. Press that, hold that for about 20 seconds, and it does a little something to you. It helps you to calm down. So in addition to aromatherapy, we've got that to help us to pull back. Try to stay in touch. Now, because of this whole pandemic, I've actually talked to more people or interacted with more people than I have in years. I had an awesome Zoom birthday party, okay? Actually, I had 2. And a happy hour. But anyway, stay connected. You may not be able to visit with people physically right now, but remember, we are being physically distant, not socially distant. Keep in contact. That connection means a whole lot. When you're connecting, if you're feeling anxious, don't call negative Nancy. Bless her heart. Because if you call her, you know that she's going to read you the obituaries. You don't need to hear that when you are anxious. You need to call Calm Carla. You know that she is going to tell you something uplifting, and when you hang up the phone, you're going to feel hopeful and empowered. So you can check on Nancy later on, but if you need a little calmness, call Carla. I want to make sure that we do the best we can, but not to expect perfection. No one is perfect. If they tell you they are, then they're not facing that reality there, because ain't nobody perfect. Be patient. Understand that you're going to make some mistakes. Understand that you're going to make some choices that you wish you'd done differently, but you can't turn the clock back. Not 2 seconds, not 2 months, not 6 years. Do what you can right now and be patient with yourself as you learn from your mistakes. I want you to be kind to yourselves. Often we're kind to other folks, but we're not so nice to ourselves. So don't forget to be nice to yourself. You need to take care of yourself, and that's one way to do it. All these things I've talked about are things that I think can be helpful in terms of addressing situational anxiety. If your anxiety is preventing you from doing what you need to do day to day, if you're unable to leave your home because you're anxious, or you're unable to perform tasks because you're anxious, please contact a mental health professional. Most of us are doing telehealth visits, so you don't even have to leave your house to talk to a professional. Before you pick someone, make sure you check with your insurance company first if you don't plan on paying out of pocket. Guys, this is a different world, but we are resilient, we are steadfast, and we are optimistic. I hope that you find some benefit from some of the tips that I've shared with you today. Everybody needs them, so feel free to share the video with others. It's been wonderful talking with you all. Be safe. We are strong. See y'all later.